recording. Now we're recording. Okay. Sometimes it auto records. Sometimes I gotta click the button. All right. I'll wait a couple minutes while everybody. Akira, what's going on? Are you still in LA? How you digging it? Hey. All right. Cool. Well, let me see here. Actually, Victoria sent me over a list of questions. I think I'm going to get to them later, and we're going to start. Actually, let me mute everybody. Here we go. Perfect. So, all right. Snowing cold here in Chicago, Mark says. All right. Well, it's sunny and 80 in LA. I won't rub it in, but that's just, live. This is, it doesn't get old. That's something I did 25 years in the Midwestern winter, and Chicago's tough. Minneapolis is tougher. I promise. And I got out every day when I walk outside in the morning, and it's just sunshine and gorgeous and 70 or 80 degrees in February. I'm like, you know what? This is beautiful. This is wonderful. I love it. It's amazing. I don't take it for granted. I had the 25 years to really just ingrain and make me, appreciate what I have now. I don't think the people who are born and raised in LA, it drops below 55 and everybody starts losing their minds and like bundling up in parkas and scarves. I'm like, oh, guys, come on, pull it together. But, it's cool. I feel you. It's why I moved here, though. All right, cool. So a lot to discuss, a lot to dig into. I got a lot of questions that were in the Facebook group. So as always, if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand in the chat window there. You can just click raise hand. If you can't figure out how to do that, just ask in the chat box and somebody will help you how to raise hand. I have the moderator view, so mine looks different. So I'm not exactly sure where your raise hand button is there. Otherwise, you can just chat there. I'm looking at the chat box too. I can see if you've enabled your video, I can see you as well. So you could just like flail your arms around and be like, okay. Or you can do one of these things, Sam. I like that. Killer. So, all right, cool. Well, let's dig in. From Ari to everyone. Wait, we have another Ari. Which other Ari? Because the other Ari was from Canada, and he spells it with an E at the end. I can't see this Ari's video is turned up. Ariana, yes, Marucci. Hey, Ariana, cool. Okay, cool. Beautiful. I think we have 3 Aris in the class. That's awesome. All right, so let's dig in. Last time I spent a while discussing Pandora. I hope everybody got a chance to watch that one if you weren't here with me live. Now, I asked in the group if anyone had tried out a Pandora campaign. I didn't get any responses, so I'm assuming that's a no. Has anybody tried out anything on Pandora yet? No. Okay. That's okay. So if you have, I really want to know about it because this has been an ongoing investigation with Pandora. I'm chatting with Pandora. It's almost seems daily now. They are really trying to get artists on to using their artist tools. Their artist tools are free. Everything they're doing for artists is free. They're really trying to win people, win the music industry over from Spotify because everyone in the music industry is obsessed with Spotify right now. But what's crazy is that there are still 73 million people on Pandora. So I know that, everyone outside the States doesn't really know what Pandora is because it's really only available in the US and Australia and New Zealand, I think, and maybe one other country. But there's 73 million Americans on Pandora. So it's worth paying attention to. It's actually the #1 streaming service for Americans in America. Has more users than Spotify. Believe it or not, Spotify has more users worldwide. So Spotify's looking at around 170 million worldwide, I believe. You know, Apple Music only, I think by last count, has like 30 million subscribers. Maybe they're up to 40 by this point. Spotify, you know, they are at, I want to say 60 or 70 million subscribers, and then 170 million users because they have the free tier. And Pandora has 73 million users in America, just America. So when you're looking at Spotify and Apple Music numbers, those are worldwide. So it's worth it. And I want to start looking at Pandora and start some experimenting with this, because if everything that they told me is true and all the stuff that they sold me on actually works for musicians, it can be a really powerful tool, powerful outlet and platform, but the tools that they're offering can be very powerful. So just as a little refresher, and hopefully this will inspire some people who have music out this year. So, okay, Bronwyn, when you say it's approved but not launched, can I call on you? Can you maybe just say, can we just chat about this for a second and just see what you mean?
Yeah. Hey.
Hey.
Let me turn my light on so you can see my face. So the day that we had the last meeting,
Yes.
I emailed them because I knew, I didn't know how long it's going to take to get processed. And I know my stuff is good. It's not like I'm like, I hope that they like it. Like, it's good. So, I'm not saying that to be a dick,
I know. You've seen success on other platforms with the music. So you know that it's at the level of professionalism that Pandora would require to be featured prominently on the platform. That's what you meant.
Exactly. Well said. So I emailed them and I posted what I emailed. I think a bunch of people saw exactly what I posted, and I tried to make it really like exciting. Like, hey, I want to do a campaign, blah, blah, blah. Basically all the stuff that you said. Yep. And so I got an email like the next day saying, oh yeah, we'll look at your stuff. And then it took a good like 3 weeks maybe for it to get approved, because it's like sitting in the submit.pandora, whatever that is, submit.pandora. Yeah. And it took it can't have been 4 weeks because this is 4 weeks later. At least 3 weeks, if not like 3.5 weeks to get approved. Okay. And then I got an email. If you can hang on just a second, I can pull that email up. Sure. That said something about it needing to, it'll take too long to pull it up, but it was something about they have to run it through their music genome project and whatever. So it's approved, but it's getting, I don't know, analyzed. So basically, I was hoping to get it on before this class so that we could all talk about everybody's, but apparently it takes a really long time.
Well, this is really good information. So you emailed them, they said, we'll take a look. 3 weeks later, they said it's approved and now it's being analyzed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's good, because in the past it's been 4 to 6 months. So 3 weeks. Oh yeah.
But I submitted it through CD Baby in October.
Yeah, so it's at an interesting thing right now, because I asked the Pandora people about this. I've said, well, all the distributors are sending you the music, right? Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah, but that's the lowest priority. Like, we get to that really, 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 really late. So they're like, if you want it expedited, you have to submit it through that submit.pandora.com. Okay. Which I didn't realize until they told me this, that's like the way to expedite it, even though CD Baby's sending it. Because, so you have CD Baby send it, which means Pandora now knows who to pay, which is really good. So they'll pay CD Baby because CD Baby's sending them the information. But now you're just hitting them from the front door of Pandora, the submit.pandora.com. And then they will be able to analyze it and approve it much quicker than just getting to CD Baby, because they're getting tens of thousands of things a month, from these distributors. So, all right, well, that's good to know that it's taking this long. I'm going to follow up with them because I'm gathering information. Like a few of my friends did the same thing and submitted to the front door. They're excellent. They have previous releases on Pandora that have done well, et cetera, et cetera. and I'm trying to find a way with them to see how we can speed up this whole process, because the goal is, you have a song going to be released, let's say in a month. It theoretically, you should be able to submit the song to Pandora. They approve it, they analyze it, and they get it up on their service by launch date. So they can. So basically, you can promote that song on Pandora as part of your entire marketing strategy for the release of that single. Because their other big push, which Pandora is working on right now, is this just launched, I think, a month ago, where anyone can have full access. Any non-Pandora subscriber can have full Pandora features and interactability, meaning like you can play whatever song you want, listen to any song, go backwards, forwards, whatever. That's outside the radio feature. This is their new like interactive platform. If you watch like a 15-second ad or something, they just launched this. So what they're trying to get musicians to do is share your song. So you basically like copy the my song link and then like send it to your fans on social media or email or something and say, hey, listen to my song on Pandora. And then they can click through. And it's not like listen to my station on Pandora. It's actually listen to my song on Pandora, and they're able to just listen to your song, and then then they can interact how they want with adding your station, et cetera, et cetera. So this is what they're working on. So that's good information. I'm going to follow up with them and just see how long this process should take, because they signaled to me that they could go a lot quicker than a month. Now, do you have other songs on Pandora? Is this your first release ever on Pandora?
It's my first release. So, and it was kind of confusing of whether or not it was like the whole album that they're analyzing or just the song that I sent them.
Oh, you sent them the whole album?
Well, I mean, so on the submit, let me pull it up.
Okay.
I'll close the chat. What was it? Submit.pandora.com. So, and I'm sure other people in the class have seen this too, that there's like, now it says submit to pandora.com. It may have like gone through in the last, I don't know.
Well, look up, we can check it out. You can always check if you just go to Pandora and then just type in your name.
Oh, right. That makes sense.
And then you can just see if it's on there. They may not actually let you know when it is live on Pandora. So let's just see. I know you, Bronwyn, you've had difficulties with your name on the various platforms.
Quite.
I'm looking at this. Okay, great Bronwyn Radio. I don't think this is the correct. No, this is definitely not the correct Bronwyn. Okay. So, all right. Well, I would say keep checking and keep following up with Pandora. Like, if you stay on them, polite persistence, and
right,
and keep emailing that AMP. What is it? amp-support@pandora.com. And then just just say, hey, following up here, I'd like to promote my new single on Pandora to my fans, whatever. And then I will send an email to Pandora also and just kind of get some more clarity here. So Robin, you said the same thing, got approved next day somehow, but still not online. Right. So they're probably analyzing it. And if it's your first release ever, I think it takes a little bit longer to analyze because they don't have previous data for you. And so I know that they're going to go through it. And they were a little wishy-washy if they're analyzing every song on your album. I don't think they are. I think they're just analyzing maybe one or two songs, and then they can just insert you that way. But yeah, that's the thing with Pandora, different, unlike the other streaming services, is that they do analyze every piece of music that they get to kind of improve their stations. So, well, cool. Well, thanks, Bronwyn. Please keep us updated and let me know what happens with it, and if you get approved, and if you start running a feature campaign and doing an AmpCast campaign and all that stuff.
Right. Actually, I found it. It is there.
It's on Pandora right now?
It's on Pandora. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Apparently. So
how do I find it?
Type in my first name.
Okay. And then I'm looking on down artists.
It's like the first thing that came up, and it's Mine Somewhere Else is the album. So
okay.
And it appears the whole album is there. So that's good. It's not just one song.
Okay. Let me see here. Let me just see if I can find it. Okay. Now let's try this out. Okay, since you pulled it up, will you actually copy a link to your song and then actually post it in the chat here, and let's see if we can all click through and listen to your song.
Okay. Because I just lost the chat. Hold on. Sorry.
Oh, on the bottom of the screen, just hover over the screen and then just click chat, and then it'll.
There it is. Okay. Here.
Yeah, paste the link, because you can only run a feature campaign is if at least 10 people have listened to your song within the last week. And so that's kind of what they do. So it's not hard to get 10 people, but this is just what they're looking for. So let me hear. I'm clicking this here.
Oh, wait, that's the album.
Oh, right. So
I'm going to give you a song.
Right. Okay. So do a song, the song that you want to run a feature campaign to. And right. Hope. Yes, this is states only. So if you're anywhere outside of the state, you can still run a feature campaign on Pandora. You can still get your music on Pandora. You can still run an Ampcast campaign. You just can't listen on Pandora. So what you'll want to do is, once you get your music, you go through the same process. What you want to do is you go through the same process, but then you log into your backend, and that's amp.pandora.com, and that's your backend of Pandora. So just like we have SpotifyArtist.com, which is the backend of Spotify, amp.pandora.com is the backend of Pandora. I'm just going to put this here, amp.pandora.com. Andriana, I think important, but there's a plan of expanding to other countries. Yeah. Yes, they definitely have plans to expand to other countries. I'm surprised they haven't at this point. Yeah, I don't know. They really should be. This has been something, a long time coming. Bronwyn, have you found the song that you're going to do?
It wouldn't, I'm not a subscriber to Pandora, so it wouldn't let me do a song. Either that or it's not actually there yet. So I'm logging in on Chrome instead of Safari to see if that was a problem, or it might just not be up yet. So
yeah. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can do this. No, that's not it. Share. That's the album. Right. That's a really good question. Right, because you can only share the album on the page. I think I think they even gave me like a feature account, or not a feature account. What is it called? Like a subscribe
thing.
And I can't do it either from your album page. So
well, I don't see it on.
Sorry. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll I'll follow up with them and see what's going on. Ari, same thing. When I click on one of your songs, it says page not found, but the album does show up. So, all right, I'm gonna look into. It's so funny because they really shouldn't be having these problems with 73 million subscribers and 2,100 employees, and they're on the stock market and whatever. But it seems this transition from internet radio to an interactive streaming service is a bit challenging for them.
Makes sense.
So, okay, cool. Well, we'll keep kind of working on this, and so Bronwyn, keep us updated with what happens. Feel free to email AMP all of your questions, any and all of them. Just email me like, hey, I see the album is up. That's awesome. How do I share a song? I can't figure it out. and they'll like tell you how to do it, I think, hopefully. And just be like, hey, I want to share one of my songs with my fans. How do I do that?
Right.
Because it really should not be this difficult. Maybe they've only analyzed, maybe it's only part of the radio version right now. That's another thing. Actually, I think this is what it is. They did explain this to me, that if they didn't get the rights from your distributor, then they can't offer it as part of the interactive streaming service. So they just need to go talk to CD Baby, because CD Baby is sent. So it's like going like this right now. So like you sent it here and they're like, oh, okay, approved for radio. And then CD Baby sent it here and it's like coming around, and and so like they're just not linking up. So I bet if you email AMP and say, hey, how do I share a song? Like, oh, we need the rights from your, and you could say like CD Baby sent this to you in what, December, November?
October.
Yeah. So I think that's all that they need. So that's good for actually everybody to know. Once you get your album up there, so Robin, when they say it's approved, check your thing too to see if you're up there. Robin, have you checked to see if it's up there? Just like Bronwyn discovered that her album's up there. Because then you just got to email them again, amp-support@pandora.com, and say, hey, my album's up. How can I share a song? This is my distributor. And they'll connect the dots. And they'll be like, okay, we got it. Cool. All right, sweet. Well, that's really good information to know. This is kind of like new stuff that's happening over in the Pandora camp every day. And, once they showed me the data, that it can be really powerful, and you can build a ton of fans from this and make some decent revenue from it. And so we just need to figure out how to get it going and make sure that it's actually working. So cool, it's coming. But we're the first ones really doing it. I'm like this. They haven't really promoted this that heavily. So many, and I haven't written this article about it yet because we're all testing it out. And I've been going back and forth with Pandora. I'm like, listen, I'm not going to write this article about it if it doesn't work. So like all this stuff is like really good information, because like, yeah, this is way too complicated for people. They need to figure this stuff out. So they're working on it. And once it's streamlined and we're all like, yep, it's all set to go and we're all ready and it's great, then we'll all do it, and then we'll come to a consensus like, yes, this is amazing, or no, this sucks, and I'll write the article about it, and then we'll go from there to best use it. But from what they showed me, it looks like it can be really great and really powerful. And because most artists aren't doing this right now, we're kind of the first ones on it, and before the floodgates open. Because when I write about it, that's when tens of thousands of artists are going to start rushing into Pandora, and we want to kind of preempt that. We want to get it in before the tens of thousands of musicians, because the customer support can handle this mild traffic now, and once I write about it, it's going to be difficult, I know. So that's why it's kind of taking a while. Okay, cool. Thanks, Bronwyn. Appreciate it. Okay, cool. So let me just make sure here. So I use NordVPN to access from Toronto. It works well. Darren, cool. That is way over my head in understanding of what that is. I'm assuming a NordVPN means that it's like a remote server that you're pretending that you are existing in the States or something. Is that it? Is this like you're bouncing your computer to make it think that your IP address is not in Toronto, but actually in New York or something? Is that what it is? I don't know. That sounds very hacky to me. I'm not good enough at computer hackery to do that, but yeah, that's cool. VPNs are legit. Helps us Canadians get the better American Netflix. Oh, cool. All right. Well, shit. You want to post a link here, guys, to show everyone outside of the States how to use VPNs? Because I don't know how. Or maybe, and not hacky. Okay, cool. Send it. So just to confirm, this is not illegal? Because I don't want to be like telling you to do something illegal. Is this legal? Is this like legal in Canada and the US kind of thing, and in the world? We're not like, this sounds, okay. I mean, not at all legal. Oh, wait, not at all legal or not at all, comma, he said legal. So I'm assuming that means legal. It is legal. It is legal in the affirmative. Okay, great. All right, cool. It's legal. Sweet. So we don't need to be worrying about the feds busting down the doors or the CIA or like how they went in and arrested the Pirate Bay founder or anything like that. Okay, we're not going to be doing that. All right, great, cool. So check out VPNs if you're not in the States and you want to use Pandora or American Netflix, unless you have info in Russia. Okay, so don't use VPNs to investigate the Russian investigation. All right, cool. So let's move on. Great. So that's Pandora. We're going to keep experimenting with it. Bronwyn, Robin, everybody else, keep us updated with how it's going. Andrea, try that VPN thing from Canada and see how it's working for you. I don't know, maybe. Great. Okay, cool. Let me dig into some of these questions because they got in depth. Before I dig into the questions from Facebook, does anyone have a question here that I can just answer first before I dig into those, since you're here and some of these people who wrote in the question are not? No. Okay. So let me start on these questions. Bronwyn submitted January 5th and approved January 18th. Oh, okay, great. That's not bad. Considering that I had to listen and analyze it and everything. All right, sweet. All right, great. So let's go through these questions. All right. This is, okay. John Agaki asked, is an NOI, or notification of intent, or basically notice of intent, letter from big companies like Google, iTunes, etc., legit, or is it a loophole to avoid paying artists royalties? I received a registered NOI letter from Google notifying me of their intent to possibly use a song of mine starting January 24, 2018 on YouTube and or Google Play. Google stated that this letter was a Schedule A requirement. However, an article, blah, 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 said registered letters to artists and or the Copyright Art Office to avoid paying past royalties, arguing they did not know the artist's address. It sounds like mine was a tax requirement letter. I plan, okay. And then he has another question, but I want to dig into this one first, and then we'll get to his second question. So I actually just got one of these letters. I'm trying to see if I can find it so I can show you what it is. I usually just throw them away right away, but let me see if I can find it. I should not be receiving these letters. And if you have an admin publishing company, you should not be receiving them either. Here it is. Okay. So basically what he's talking about, what this is so it looks like this. Oh no, this is not it. That's my credit report. Not showing you that. All right, where is this? It looks actually very similar to that. That's funny. I guess I don't have it. Wait, let me just dig into this box some more here. Maybe it's buried deep. No, insurance. No. Okay, I can't find it. Doesn't matter. You have yours? Oh yeah.
Yes.
Can I see? Oh wait, let's. Oh yeah.
I didn't think oh, let's see. Bigger screen. I don't know what I got.
Oh no, that's okay. Yeah, put it up to the camera there, and we can. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna switch from this multi-screen thing to just see. There we go. Oh, interesting.
I don't know if you can see it.
It is actually from, not really, but I can kind of see it. It's just a little blurry.
Oh.
Okay, good. This is from Google, so it was sent from Google, not from Music Reports or Harry Fox Agency.
That's right.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, right from Google. Christina got it from Google too. Okay, cool. Thanks, John. Yeah, so basically what these are, so it's so NOIs, notice of intents, are typically sent from Music Reports Inc. or Harry Fox Agency in the States. And what these are is basically all the interactive streaming services. They don't need your permission necessarily, but they do need to notify you and pay you the mechanical royalties. Now, what this is let me just make sure. Here we go. Yeah. So Google must be doing this on their own. I actually haven't gotten one from Google because if you have an admin publishing company like CD Baby Pro, Song Trust, Centric, I know some people mentioned Centric, I'm going to talk about them in a little bit, TuneCore Publishing, Cobalt, or a publishing company, they'll receive your NOIs. And it's basically just saying, we're using this song, we're letting you know, and we're going to start paying you. So theoretically, Google will be paying you directly, John. Now, do you have an admin publishing company? Oh, sorry, we just both clicked the mute button at the same time. Go for it. You unmute. There you
go. No, I don't. I know we were supposed to join a PRO, but I had read that it's only as advantageous when you're actually going to be getting some plays. Otherwise, they said it was. So I don't know if that's true. And then looking at the percentages, I'm with CD Baby.
Yeah.
But then you look at I don't know. I should just sign up with them, but there's so many competitive things, and they take big cut. And so
no, for sure, I feel you. Okay, no worries. So just to clarify, so a PRO in the States, that's ASCAP, BMI, CSAC. In Canada, that's SOCAN. The UK, we got PRS. Each country has their own PROs, performing rights organizations. Now, those actually have nothing to do with NOIs. So those are just for performance royalties, and that is, they only collect performance royalties. So when your song is played on a TV show or a commercial, when it airs in a jukebox in a bar, or when it's basically it's a public, on the radio, there's a public performance of your song. That's why they're called performance royalties, and PROs, performing rights organizations. So they're collecting your performance royalties for songwriters. So different from the mechanical royalties, which is every time you get streamed on Google or Spotify or Apple or that kind of stuff. Those are mechanical royalties, and the performance royalties are the ones that come from ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, that kind of stuff. So the NOI that you're receiving is because you don't have a publishing company, which is fine for now. And all the streaming services are being much more diligent about sending out these NOIs. So you wondered about the lawsuit, or if this is a way for them to not pay you royalties. On the contrary, it's actually a way for them to know who to pay. So the reason that Spotify got into such hot water in all these lawsuits, and there was a lawsuit brought against Apple. I mean, there theoretically could be lawsuits brought against every streaming service. It wasn't just Spotify. They were just the biggest, so they hit them first, and Apple and Google, everybody. The reason that they got hit with these lawsuits was because they didn't send out these NOIs. So this is an easy way to figure this out. If you have music on Apple Music or Spotify, and you don't have a publisher or an admin publishing company, and you never received an NOI, then that's illegal. Then you have a case to make. You can join this class action lawsuit kind of thing, So that's basically what it is, because the law in the US states that every streaming service needs to get an NOI, needs to get the mechanical license to have your music available, your compositions available on the service. And they didn't get these. They tried to. They only sent out NOIs to the publishers that they knew existed, and then all the millions of songs that they didn't know who the publisher was, either to not break the law, they were either able to send out an NOI to the publisher or register with the U.S. Copyright Office saying, we don't know who the publisher is. So that if they didn't do either, they broke the law. Now, it's a fool's errand. It's impossible to do this. The laws have not caught up with where we're at right now. I don't fault Spotify or Apple or Google or whatever. The laws are just way too behind. This is a broken system. You know, I like, a lot of people like to demonize and like, well, they tried not to pay. It's like, it's impossible. They couldn't figure out how to pay. Like, I get it. Like, yes, I want everybody to be paid. Spotify actually had a fund of, I think, $25 million. They're like, listen, we don't know where this money is supposed to go, but we're setting it here because there's $25 million of money, of songwriter money, that's unaccounted for because we don't know where, we don't know who to pay. Because if you sent your song to Spotify with CD Baby or DistroKid or TuneCore or any of the indie distributors, and you didn't type in who the songwriter was, and because they didn't ask you, DistroKid doesn't ask you who the songwriter is. TuneCore doesn't ask you who the songwriter is. CD Baby, up until like 2 years ago, never asked you who the songwriter was. So if you sent, when you distributed your album, all the distributors just sent it to Spotify, into Apple, and to Google, and to everywhere, Amazon, everywhere. And they're like, here you go. And it was a breakdown in communication because Spotify, Apple, Google, everybody should have said, nope, you're not allowed to send us music without telling us who the songwriter is and who the publisher is and how to pay them. That's what they should have done. Everyone dropped the ball. They didn't do that. They should have. So it was just a breakdown in communication. So, it's like, it's not that anyone was evil or whatever. It's just that Spotify didn't know or couldn't figure it out. Apple couldn't figure it out. Google, no one could figure this out. No one could find millions of independent artists, songwriter, basically home addresses is what it comes down to. They couldn't find, your home address. But John, they found your home address and they sent you an NOI now, but I don't know how long your music has been on Google Play or been on Spotify or been on Apple, but they're starting to catch up so they stop getting sued, which is basically what's happening. So what they're doing is they're hiring thousands of people to go through every song on these services and be like, all right, John Agaki, all right, we got his songs here. Let's find out if he's registered with the PRO. Nope. Okay. Well, let's find his home mailing address somehow. And they found it clearly. So that's what these mean. It's not that they're not trying to pay you. It's that they're actually trying to figure out who to pay and where to send the checks. So now this was another question by somebody else, but it directly relates to this. If you, Carrie says, blockchain seems like the answer. Yeah, blockchain could be the answer. That's what blockchain is looking to solve, is all this breakdown in metadata. That basically what the blockchain in music is supposed to do is basically embedded in every song is full metadata. And it's like, it's to the point, I think, the technology where if you change something over here, once all the parties agree to the change, it then will change everywhere. So like, even though your song's already with Google, if you want to change, like make sure that all the publisher information is correct, or change your mailing address or change your publisher or whatever, you can do it. And then it'll automatically do it everywhere. That's like what this whole new blockchain technology is looking to do, and to have all the information top to bottom, left to right. It's not quite there yet, but it's coming. But anyway, yeah, can't prevent Beethoven, right. David Lowery nailed Spotify and lack of NOIs. The license, right, exactly. So that was David Lowery brought the lawsuit, Melissa Etheridge. They both basically came together for a class action lawsuit. And anyway, so, okay. Now you may have heard that songwriters got a raise in the States. If you read somewhere that like songwriter royalties, basically the U.S. government just approved about a 50% raise for songwriters. So it's the mechanical royalty rate that we're talking about. So every time your song gets streamed on any of these services, whereas before you were only making about 1/10 of what the artist or the label was making as a songwriter, now you're making a bit more. So I think it's now, gosh, I wanna get this right. It's, let's see, songwriters, here we go. Let me see if I can find exactly how much it went up. Some people, so it went up 50% of what it was before, or 43.8%. Okay, yeah, so it's for every $3.82 to the label or the artist, writers and publishers get $1. So, you know, songwriters were fighting for 50-50, which I believe should happen. I believe that if, you know, $1 is for a stream, 50 cents should go to the songwriters and 50 cents should go to the artist. That's how it works in sync. We all know that that's basically how it works when you get a song synced. But it doesn't work that way because of all the history in the US government, blah, 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 it goes back 100 years. They basically, it's this way because the argument is from the labels saying, well, we're spending millions of dollars to market this. Songwriters just write the song. Publishers are just helping them with the song and whatever. And they're not spending any money up front. We're spending all the money. We should get more money back. That was the initial argument. Now it's not really like that anymore. So this is where this kind of balance is starting to happen. So yes, for every $3.82, now it's $1. Versus before it was like $9 to $1 or something like that. So now what this means for you is that, you know, basically if before you were getting $1,000, you know, from mechanical royalties a month or whatever, you'll now be getting $1,500 for the same number of streams. So that's awesome. Like, that's really great. And these are for songwriters. These are songwriters, not to be confused with the artist royalty. So that's what this whole, like, songwriters just got to raise thing. Here's a Variety article if you just want to read through it. But Billboard did it, blah, 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 blah. Carrie, does DistroKid still not ask for songwriter data? I just actually talked to Philip at DistroKid about this. They don't. But they're starting to very, very soon. And actually, if you click, I wrote this song, this is not a cover, they use your name for the songwriter information. But because the thing is, I don't know if you heard, Spotify just launched last week producer and songwriter credits. So if you're on the desktop app, you can right click or command click on a Mac, on any song, and you click credits. So let's go to like, now it's not for all of them yet, but they're saying theoretically. So let's just go to, I don't know, Justin Timberlake just released an album. So let's go to Justin Timberlake's album. And let's see, let me click on, I'm gonna click on Say Something.
Yeah,
and I'm
share
gonna
your screen, Ari, darling.
Thank you. All right, let's do it. I always forget that. Okay, here we go. Share screen. Here we go. Can you see it? Yeah? Okay. All right. So I'm on Justin Timberlake's Spotify page. Now I'm going to go to Say Something, and I'm going to click this. I'm going to actually right-click. See where this says Show Credits. Show Credits. Performed by Chris Stapleton, Justin Timberlake. Written by Chris Stapleton, Justin Timberlake, Lawrence Dobson, Nate. Oh my gosh. There were 5 songwriters in the song. There's like 12 words in the entire song. Okay. It took 5 people to write 12 words. That's great. And produced by Danya, Justin Timberlake, and Timbaland. Oh, interesting. I didn't know Timbaland produced that. Source RCA Records label. So one of the reasons why they put Source RCA Records label is because if, okay, here's why. Now let's go to, let's see a Bob Dylan song that everybody covers, All Along the Watchtower. All Along the Watchtower. Tower. All right, let's do Jimi Hendrix, very popular version. Let's right-click this, show credits. Oh, they got that one. Okay, good. Let's see the Dave Matthews Band version, show credits. They got it. Actually, this one they might have because I did just read an article where they didn't have this and it was really embarrassing to Spotify. Give me another very well-known song that everybody covers. Oh, let's see, American Girl. Let's see if Train. Let's see if, wait a minute. Why can't I, let's see. I know they just did, ooh, The River. Show credits. Oh, they got that one. All right, so they're doing Led Zeppelin 2, show credits. So they're actually getting pretty good at this. Written by Jimmy Page and Robert Plant, performed by Train. Let me see here. Let's see if we can catch them in something. Oh, Hallelujah, that's a good one. Or Creep by Radiohead. All right, let's do Hallelujah. Is that how? Yeah, okay. Jeff Buckley. Course. Rufus Wainwright, of course. Show credits. Oh, written by Leonard Cohen. Good. Okay. So they got that down. Let's see. Pentatonics. Written by Leonard Cohen. And produced by Panic at the Disco. Show credits. Is this Hallelujah? It might be their own Hallelujah. That's their own Hallelujah. All right. Show credits. Yep. All right. So that's they're doing pretty well at this. But the reason they're showing this, the reason they're showing who provided them is because if they don't have the writer or producer credits, it's on the label to provide this stuff. So like, okay, now let's go to, let's see, Lawrence. Let's say this is a band that I'm into these days. Let's show credits. Oh yeah, they got that one. All right, let's start going down. Actually, let's do someone in the chorus. All right, Bronwyn. Here we go. So let's do show credits. Ah, they got you. All right. But and your full name. That's awesome. Oh, because you went through CD Baby, because CD Baby's asking for this. So let's do me, because actually one of the albums was released by CD Baby and the other was released by DistroKid. So keep fighting. Yep. Ari said they're saying Christopher James Koza. Let's see this one. Ah, they do not have written by or produced by. So now I have to get in touch with, actually this was a CD Baby release too, and let them know. And let me see here if we can find Creep here. So if you can do this for your songs, and if your song does not have producer or songwriter info, then you need to get in touch with your distributor and ask them to send it. I'm just keep checking some of these. Show credits. Ah, here's one. This Creep, I believe this is probably a Radiohead cover. Let's just check this out here. So this is Ember Island Creep.
When you were before.
No, that's not Radiohead's Creep.
Couldn't look you
oh yeah, it is. Just kidding. There it is. Yes, it is.
You're just like an angel.
It's actually a cool version. So this is the Radiohead version of Creep. And now if Radiohead's team was like, oh, yo, we need the credits here, source, Ember Island. So it's like, okay, we need it. Basically, Ember released it through, we don't know yet, because she put her own name as the label. Ember Island, yeah. So they'd have to go back to the distributor and be like, hey, send us that information. Yeah, here it is. Creep, which is the Radiohead version, and it doesn't have written by or produced by. So this is how they're doing it. They literally just rolled this out. Whoops, let me make sure here. Stop sharing. There we go. All right. They literally just rolled this out last week. So it's the beginning. It's not on mobile. It's not yet, but it's coming to mobile. It is, you know, it's a step, and they're going to get more credits and everything like that. Like I have been like begging for these credits for years now. It's actually in the rant at the back of my book, released, last year, but I wrote the rant 2 years ago of like, why don't these services show credits? It just drives me crazy. So Christina, just check, mine are missing right now. So go to your distributor. Who'd you use for distribution?
I use CD Baby.
Oh, and when did you distribute it?
The last one was 2016.
Interesting. I thought they had it by then. So maybe they started asking after you distributed it?
Maybe.
Because
I have a song I was featured on. I'm actually going to look because he released his through CD Baby, and it was just in December. Let me check that one real quick.
Okay, cool.
That one has the credits.
Great. So CD Baby basically must have changed this since 2016.
Yeah.
So go back to CD Baby and just update your songwriter credits in there. You can write them. They're pretty good at customer service. It's just cdbaby@cdbaby.com, I believe is their email or something.
Okay.
But yeah, just shoot them an email. But you should actually you may even be able to log into your backend and add that information, and they may just like send it along, and then it'll just populate. So whoever your distributor is, I recommend putting pressure on them. So if you use DistroKid or TuneCore or any of the others, Symphonic, AWOL, whatever, whoever you use for distribution, go to them and say, hey, I'd like the songwriter and producer credits on Spotify. Can we make this happen? So Ricky, they have a chat too. CD Baby. Oh, sweet. Okay, cool. Well, during hours you can chat them. Great. Timbaland and JT have worked together forever now. They're tight. Robin says, yeah. Cool. Yeah. So hopefully liner notes will be coming soon. But this is a step. So similar to how they never asked for the songwriter information before, and that's why Spotify and everybody else is getting sued. Now they're starting to show it and demand it from the distributors because they want, not only do they want to know who to pay and not get sued, but they also want to showcase the credits. And so Spotify, major props to them for actually taking a big step forward and showing some credits, songwriter information. They're starting to actually have songwriter awards now. And, songwriters have been so behind the curtain, existing behind the curtain for so many years and not really getting much recognition. Apparently at the Grammys, this was the first time that they even read the songwriters and gave the Grammys, gave the Grammy Award to songwriters for Album of the Year. They never used to get the Grammys and never used to get that, but now they're starting to be recognized. So that's great. And that's, we can thank, the NMPA, the National Music Publishers Association, and just the advocates, ASCAP, BMI, everyone's been advocating for this stuff. All right, let me get to another question here. All right, so, John also asked, what is a true co-write versus as opposed to simply a co-write? Is that where producers and arrangers are considered co-writers in a song? George Martin arranged orchestrated Beatles songs, but he wasn't credited as a songwriter along with Lennon and McCartney, as he was a producer, arranger, engineer. Right. So the short answer is that it's all negotiable. So you want to just discuss this up front when you're working with your producer. That's usually in the producer contract, saying, are they getting any songwriter credit? Are they co-writing, or are they just getting royalties or just getting upfront payments? So clearly George Martin in their contract he's not getting any songwriter credit. He's just getting paid for the production and possibly earn some back-end royalties, but no songwriter credit. Everyone does it differently. Some producers want 50-50 songwriter credit. Clearly Timbaland, did he get songwriter credit on that song? I think so. And a lot of producers ask for songwriter credit. So it's Timothy Mosley. Yeah, so he did. That's right. Because and this was another question, actually. I want to get to that too. I don't remember whose question it was. Let me find it. Basically, the answer to the question that I can't find right now, but Hope, I think, did she just, Hope's here, great. Yeah, collect mechanical royalties, publishing. So I'll read your question in a second, but basically, um, songwriters, you use your real legal name for when you're registering the song with the Copyright Office, and when you're putting who the songwriters are. So when like you register with your PRO, that's your name, that's your songwriter name, that's your real name. You can cash checks as this songwriter name. This is your legal name. This is who you register with the U.S. Copyright Office. Now, if you're a band, that's separate because the band didn't write the song. You know what I mean? The band isn't an individual who wrote the song. Bands don't write songs. Even if bands collectively are writing the song equally, you don't say Coldplay wrote this song. You say Chris Martin and Johnny Greenwood and Will Champlin and what's the last guy's name? I don't remember. And anyway, that's who you say wrote the song. Yes, they're the 4 members of Coldplay. And yes, I know that Coldplay splits every song 4 ways, no matter what. Even the song that is just Chris Martin on acoustic guitar, and you can clearly know that he wrote that by himself, they just, you're like, well, you know what? We're splitting every song equally 4 ways. So when it says who's the songwriter, it's not going to say Coldplay. Actually, I haven't checked on this, but let's just, I know this because I read it in their biography, but let's just Coldplay. Let's just do this. All right, let's check it out here. The Scientist, show credits. Written by Chris Martin, Guy Berryman. That was the guy. Oh, Johnny Buckland. Oh, John Greenland is the Radiohead guitar. And then Will Champion. So these are their names. They should have a space between Will and Champion. So this is, see, performed by Coldplay, written by this. And we can go down every song of Coldplay's, and it'll show all 4 members. This is all 4, but for some reason, they list them many, many, many times, but you can Chris Martin, Guy Berryman again, Will Champion. So they're just getting this going right now. Ken Nelson, obviously, Ken Nelson produced this song twice. And all right, Yellow. It was all Steven Tyler. I bet they sued Desmond Child. Oh, I think there was a lawsuit. There must have been a lawsuit where Yellow, I know that Steven Tyler and Desmond Child did not sit down with Chris Martin, Guy Berryman in their dorm room and write the song together because that's where they wrote Yellow. They must have sued them because it has some similarity to an Aerosmith song, I guess. So this is a way to do it. There you go. And then they also so here's produced by Daniel Green. Oh, that's interesting. Mikkel S. Erickson. These are big songwriters, so they may have teamed up for some of these songs. Here's Tovla. Let's see if she got some writing credit on it too. Mikkel S. Erickson. Interesting. Produced by. So you can kind of go down this stuff and start to see some credits and what's going on. So just to clarify, Coldplay is listed as producer. That's okay. That's not songwriter. So bands can be listed as producer because you're not registering that with the Copyright Office. You're not registering the producer with your PRO or your publishing company. So like publishers don't represent bands. Publishers represent songwriters. So every songwriter in your band may have the same publisher, but they may not. And if they do, I run into this all the time actually, where like as I was like writing something on ASCAP and saying, ASCAP, or maybe it was BMI or something like that, and they in their marketing materials, BMI says, yeah, we represent Maroon 5, and ASCAP also says they represent Maroon 5. If you can't have both ASCAP and BMI, you have to pick one. So clearly BMI represented a couple songwriters in Maroon 5, and ASCAP represents other songwriters in Maroon 5. And who knows, maybe CSEC represents a songwriter in Maroon 5 too. That's the thing. So publishers and PROs, they don't represent bands. They represent songwriters. So you have to put your songwriter name. Make sense? Word. Okay. More questions. Hope, let me dig into yours. I've been reading about the Copyright Royalty Board's decision to increase publishing royalties for use of underlying songs and master recordings that are streamed online. We just talked about that. Perfect. I'm glad I covered that. Apparently distributors like CD Baby or Emu Bands, the Scottish distributor I use, great, collect only mechanical royalties for use of the masters, but don't collect publishing royalties connected to streaming. Absolutely. CD Baby has suggested that songwriters register with their pro publishing service and let CD Baby administer their publishing, collecting publishing royalties worldwide. This seems fair enough, but what if you're already registered with another distributor and are happy with their service? Great question. I think Emu Bands is great, very personal service. I'm a member of PRS in the UK and am registered with Centric Music to collect my publishing royalties, but I'm not sure if they would be able to collect these royalties from streaming services in the States. Great question, Hope. You don't, I don't recommend, well, okay. You can't have CD Baby Pro Publishing collect any of your songwriter royalties for songs that you don't distribute through CD Baby. So if you're happy with Emu Bands, great. You can't use CD Baby Pro Publishing, no problem. And also, it's not good. CD Baby Pro Publishing is not good for co-writes. Hope, you and I write a song, and let's say I distribute the song through CD Baby. I can sign up for CD Baby Pro Publishing. You can't, because you're not as part of like my band and whatever. And so you miss out on those publishing royalties from them. But you can have your own publisher, admin publishing company, go collect the royalties from our co-write, no matter who it's distributed through. That's why publishers represent songwriters. Zion, will that change, Ari, with CD Baby Pro? I don't know. I don't think so. But it doesn't matter, because I would recommend, it's one extra step, but I would recommend working with an outside admin publishing company, because most of us in this course are doing co-writes. So you don't have to like hassle with, well, this song is represented by this admin publisher, and this song is represented by this admin publisher, and whatever. CD Baby let me sign up my co-writer to collect his royalties. Oh, great, for $10 extra, and then I pay, and then you pay him, right? So you can do that. It's just complicated because now you have to do the payment, and I don't really like that, because it's less transparent for your co-writer, unless you want to give your co-writer the login information for your CD Baby backend, which you totally could. That's why I really love the companies that are doing payment splitting. That's why I love that DistroKid is saying, like, we can pay all these members on your team. Just tell us who they are and we'll pay them directly. That's awesome. I'm like so for transparency. But Bronwyn, if we were to co-write a song together and I distribute it through DistroKid, CD Baby is not going to go collect it for you, your songwriter royalties. So you can totally use CD Baby Pro Publishing for the songs that you distribute through CD Baby. That's fine. If you're happy with that, no problems. However, if for other people who aren't using CD Baby and for people who are doing co-writes and everything like that, Hope, you mentioned Centric. I know what Centric is on the surface. I haven't actually spoken to somebody at Centric, and I've never used them. So my understanding is that they are also an admin publishing company. They're UK based, but my understanding is that yes, they will collect all your publishing royalties, but double check that with them. So all you got to do is email Centric and just like, hey, just confirming you're collecting all my mechanicals from every streaming service out there. Yep. Nope. Yep. I mean, I'm assuming you're going to say yes, because every publishing company, that's their job. That is their job, is to collect all of your songwriter royalties all over the world. Zion. Yeah, I switched to TuneCore. Looks like you can distribute with them now. Also distribute. What do you mean? Yeah, what's up?
Hey. So yeah, I just was on their website, and it's showing that something about you can sell music now through them. Do you know anything about this?
What do you
Go to
mean?
TuneCore's website right now.
Okay.
I just noticed this.
You mean like what are they creating, like a Bandcamp style store? Or what do you mean you can sell music?
It's not a store. It's just distributing your music through
Oh,
iTunes.
TuneCore is. Oh yeah. TuneCore you could always distribute through. So they're. Yeah. So they have two. It's confusing because they have two entities within the TuneCore umbrella. So they have the TuneCore publishing, and they have TuneCore distribution. So actually, they started with TuneCore distribution. So that was their flagship service back in 2004 or 5, I believe. But basically, yes. So some people can use CD Baby, some people use TuneCore, some people use DistroKid, some people use Emu Bands, AWOL, whatever, to distribute their music to the streaming services and to iTunes and everywhere else.
Right.
And so that's distribution. Now, to collect your songwriter royalties, TuneCore also has a publishing service, and so you could use them. And the biggest difference between TuneCore publishing and CD Baby Pro publishing is that you can use TuneCore publishing even if you don't use TuneCore distribution, whereas CD Baby it's in one. So that's why it's kind of confusing because it's so separate. Yeah. And so I know some people who like use DistroKid for distribution, but use TuneCore publishing for publishing collection. And similarly, I know people who use TuneCore for distribution, but use Songtrust for publishing collection. So that's why it's kind of confusing, because they have a distribution service, but they also have a publishing service. Cool. Awesome. Hope, get in touch. Great. So of the admin publishers out there, the people who can collect your publishing royalties, your songwriter royalties, the standalone ones where they're not non-restrictive of who you distribute through are Songtrust, TuneCore Publishing, I guess Centric, but we're going to double check on that, but I'm pretty sure Centric is UK based. And then there's more exclusive ones as you kind of go up the ladder, like Cobalt. But Cobalt you have to be signed to. And so, but they're same kind of thing. They're full-fledged publishing services, admin publishing. Now, just so everybody knows, I mentioned this before, but there is a restriction with TuneCore publishing, since a lot of us are involved and interested in sync licensing. TuneCore publishing has a restriction. If you use TuneCore publishing, they require that you use them for sync also. So if you want to work with a sync licensing agency, you can't if you're working with TuneCore publishing. So just know that. Not that TuneCore really is probably going to know, but just so you know, in their contract that is in there, they require that you do sync licensing through them, which I definitely don't recommend. Songtrust is a fine option if you're doing a lot of co-writes. CD Baby Pro is fine if you're just distributing through them. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Let's see here. Steve, I'm planning on releasing an EP in March, but it's feeling a bit rushed because I want to have it released and printed for the April MH tour. Marion Hill, he means, because Steve plays sax in Marion Hill. I'm finishing up the last track, still need artwork and need a bio. Plus I was hoping to book a gig, but I still need to figure out how to actually play the music live. Any advice for what the most important steps are for smaller projects, especially if I'm trying to limit my overall social media time? It's something I'm experimenting with, but I understand but I find myself happier and much more productive the less I interact on social media platforms. I'm considering putting most of my focus into my newsletter and maybe just building that up by playing shows and using my current social media followers to find me there. Okay, a lot there. You know what I just started doing? I am now plugging my phone in on my desk in the living room and going to bed and not having my phone next to my bed, because I find the first thing that I do when I wake up in the morning is grab my phone, or like the last thing I do at night is just like that. And I'm like, you know what, this is really bad for my sleeping. And like, of course, if I wake up and I'm surfing through Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and I see like an attack on me or someone who just like, because there's like comments on something I wrote or whatever, then I go into like immediate barbarian mode. I'm like, no, and then, like the whole day is fucked then. So we're talking about like happiness with social media. Yeah, I might recommend popping your phone in a different room than the room that you sleep in. I don't know, maybe try it out. Okay. Anyway, that was I digress. Okay. Any advice for most important steps? Okay, so for releasing your music, check out the 26 things to do before you release a song or album. It's in my book. It's also, I believe it's also in the files I believe it's in the files on the Facebook group. I'm not sure about that, but it is in the book. So you can find the 26 things to do, go down that checklist. That's a good starting point. If, there are some things that aren't 100% necessary on that list, but it's a really good place to start. Now, let's see here. Hoping to book a gig. Okay, still need artwork, finishing up the last track. Yeah, I mean, you need artwork. Make sure whoever's designing the artwork that whatever distributor you're going to use, you understand what their specs are. Typically, it's 3,000 pixels by 3,000 pixels at 300 DPI RGB. If you don't know what that means, your graphic designer will. So just give that information to your designer, and you can go into whatever distributor you use and find those specs. You need a bio. Totally. In the book, I have a suggestion on how to write your bio, or at least guidelines on what should be in your bio, and then give it to a good writer friend of yours to write your bio if you're not a great writer. And then play the music live, sure, if you want to perform. Most important, to trying to limit my own. Okay, here's something about social media. It is a lot of people and a lot of things you'll read will say that you need to be everywhere all the time. That's not true. That's not accurate. It's impossible for musicians to manage everything everywhere at all times. I would recommend that you are where your fans are, or where your followers are, or if you haven't launched anything yet and you don't have fans or followers yet, I would recommend you create your market research guide, the Our Fans sheet, as I call it in the book, to understand who your fans are and where they exist. Now, if you're targeting, like I know Jennifer, she's targeting with her Celtic music, she was saying the above 45 crowd. If you're targeting the above 45 crowd, or she might have even said above 55, if you're targeting an older crowd, you don't need to focus on Snapchat or Instagram. That audience, by and large, of course there are exceptions, but by and large are not necessarily existing in Snapchat and Instagram. So, but that audience by and large is existing on Facebook. So if you don't want, if you don't want to manage your stuff on Facebook, I would recommend that you either hire somebody to do this or you bring on interns. Now, Steve, you're in a very unique position because you're playing with a hot band that has millions of fans. So you can use that and leverage that. Even though they don't know your music, you can get interns to be a part of your operation, because they'll get an inside glimpse into what this whole world is like that you're in, and the touring and everything. And so I bet you could find some really great interns and who, understand social media, love social media, know how to put together a social strategy, and keep it true to you. So, yes, you want, the whole thing with social media is like authenticity and showcasing who you are and being able to interact with your fans. Now, you don't actually need to be like this to be active on social media. Your intern can do all that for you if you want. And your intern can set everything up and say, hey, we need a comment for this photo. Can you come up with one? And then, yeah, you do. And it's personal. It's from you. And it's like, hey, this person wrote this message. Your intern Slacks you. If you don't know what Slack is, highly recommend it. Or for your team. Or your intern emails you and says, hey, we just got a question. We just got a Facebook message. This is the question. Can you answer it? And then you write back to your intern. Your intern goes on Facebook. So there are ways around this. It's very difficult to be everywhere all at once. Now, having the strategy and the focus on your email list, love. Email list should be part of everybody's strategy and focus, because the email is something that has stood the test of time. This is something that isn't really going anywhere anytime soon. It's something that seems so archaic, but it stood the test of time. This is just, and the numbers don't lie. The average open rate for musicians, MailChimp did this. So the average open rate for musicians, emails that go out, is 24%. That's engagement. That means people clicked open. That's 24%. Yes, Mark, amazing. It is amazing considering Facebook's engagement rate is less than 2%. So when you're just looking at engagement rates, your email list is going to have a higher engagement rate. Now, a lot of younger musicians tell me, well, my audience doesn't use email. Okay. They are on their phones. If they don't have an email, get their phone numbers and use text messaging services. They're out there. MailChimp also can help you with text messaging services. DistroKid was going to launch a text messaging service. That's a way you can do it too. But these are things you want to own their information. You own their emails. You own their phone numbers. And you should go to where they exist. So in terms of release strategy, Christina says, I did the texting like you said to do. I used Textedly. Sweet. How is that working out? Is that been good?
Yeah, I used it back in like August. I was asking you about that event I was doing with the, it went really well. So I want to tell you that everything you suggested went well.
Great.
So I did the testing, and so it was cool because I did a free download and a preview of two new songs.
Okay.
And so the girls that were there were like high school age. We're good. They were high school age, and I got I think I got 200 from that event. So that went well. So I liked it.
Remind me of the event. You had big screens up and you were performing with a bunch of high school kids. Right. Okay.
Yeah. It was cool. There were like 3,000 girls there. So it was it was a pretty good conversion. What was the other thing? I think it works better at live events than like being, putting up on social media, like text the thing. It works better when it's instant and you're like, they've just met you, you're giving them something free and it's at a show. I found that works better. Totally.
I love it.
Yeah.
And then Textedly, is it easy to use in the sense, can you like write a message and then say, I want to send this to everybody, and it just texts them right there? And
yeah, so you can either do it immediately, you can schedule it out. I actually had a little bit of a hiccup with Textedly when I first used it that weekend. It went down with the servers. I don't necessarily know if it was them or if it was with like AT&T and like Verizon and stuff. I'm not sure where the hiccup was. But like there's a lot of services out there, so definitely like you can do the research and compare.
Yeah.
But I found it's good for live events.
Great. I love that. Thank you for sharing. That's amazing. Yeah, and I'm glad to hear that it all worked out. That's great. So yes, live events, I totally agree and have seen that firsthand, that the energy is at the event. The energy is there, and you can convince people to do anything within reason at the event when everyone's together and that energy is just existing and living in the room and in that space. And that's why you sell so much more merch at a show than you do just by like sending it out on an email list. I've done this, tested this, like at a show, 200 people there, I sell maybe, I don't know, $800 worth of merch or something, and I send an email out to 10,000 people and I sell, I don't know, $100 worth of merch. It's crazy because you're like, well, 10,000 versus 200, that's insane. But it's because the energy's at the show. And so that's why at every show have either an email list sign up or a text message sign up. And the text message sign up is so easy because you can just text the number right from your phone right there. You don't have to like walk over to a clipboard and write down your phone number. Like, I'm assuming, Christina, this is how Textly works, right? You just text a certain number.
Yeah, they give you, you can sign up for a keyword, you text a keyword, and it sends it right out. And we made like little, like 2x3 cards, put the information on there for at the table.
Love it.
But we had it on the screen and we made all that. So it was great.
Amazing. I love it. So that's great. That's so awesome. Every show that you play, whether there's, 3,000 people there or 3 people there, have an email list sign up or a text message sign up, whichever you're more comfortable with. Depending on your audience, I would recommend, the under 25 audience, text message, the over 25 audience, email, or honestly, it's really maybe 20 audience, because once you get to college and you kind of get into this professional world, that's when everyone starts using email, and you realize that if you're going to function as a professional in the world, you need to use email. So it's really like, unless you're only targeting teenagers, you can probably have an email sign up. But text messaging can be something, to look into too. So, Mark, you need disclaimer info for signing people up for texting different from email. I'm not going to pretend to know that I know the legalities of text messaging, but Christina, it's included in the first text. Great. I was going to say the text message services are going to be responsible for that, and they're going to cover that for you, so you don't have to know the laws. That's like why when you send out a MailChimp email, there's a signature at the bottom that you cannot delete that says this was sent by so-and-so that at this address. That's the law. They have to put that at the bottom of every email. So similarly with text messaging, okay, that makes sense. It's included in the first text. Perfect. Okay, cool. So I'm going to keep going here. So to sum it up, Steve, I don't think you're here with us today, but hopefully you're watching the replay. Check out the 26 things to do before you release your song or album. Possibly hire an intern or 2 to run your socials, and work that email list and text messaging thing. I think that's a great way to do it. Okay, cool. So let's see. Ferris. Hey, Ari, I've got a new single finished and ready to begin the release process with. So I've got 2 questions for you. 1, should I wait to submit my single to blogs if I have a music video still in the editing process? Or is it commonplace to promote just my single and its release, then after release, submit again for coverage of the music video as well? What's the etiquette for releasing a music video if wanting coverage from blogs and such? In other words, what's the runway length? I'm mostly just a bit confused when it comes to creating a timeline of when I'd like these things to drop and in what order. Thanks so much. Great question, Ferris. I do have, if you want to review, I do have a release strategy in the book that talks about how you can space out the songs and the videos, because yes, you absolutely can release them separately, and you can promote them to blogs separately. So, this happens all the time where someone releases a song, promote it to blogs, and then a month or 2 months later, they release the video, and then they promote that to blogs. And you can use Submit Hub. If you guys haven't read my Submit Hub review yet, I highly recommend you do that. It's on Ari's Take right now. So if you don't know what Submit Hub is and you haven't read my review on it, there's a link. Or thanks, Mark. Or just go to aristake.com. It's right there. Because Submit Hub, you can get to about 300 blogs. Now, Robin, you've had success on Submit Hub, right? Yeah, okay, because Robin is a hip hop artist, and so they love hip hop. They love, and Tamara, I know that, I don't think she's here. Are you here, Tamara? I know she was saying in the group that she's had a ton of success on Submit Hub. there are certain genres that do really well on Submit Hub, hip hop being one of them. Not hip hop here, alt rock. Oh, I'm sorry. I was alt rock, indie shoegaze stuff for me. Okay, so Lucidius. I'm trying to think. Hold on a second. Lucidius. Yeah, Lucidius does. He's in the class too, and he's done really well as well. So your alt rock indie shoegaze stuff, cool. The further left of center you are, kind of the better you can do. So there are some genres that will do really well. Now, if you're right down the middle, right down the center of any genre, it's a little bit more challenging. So yeah, I mean, there are certain genres. So check out the review, and then and see if it's going to be right for you, because that's a pretty straightforward way of contacting blogs if you want that to be part of your release strategy. Now, blogs are not the end game. Blogs can help you. They can help convert more fans, get more people to listen to you on their favorite streaming services, get the playlist editors to include you in their playlist, because playlist editors are reading blogs. So, but it's not the be all end all. You know, some of the biggest artists in the world don't have any blog coverage. I thought it was hilarious. Now, I don't know if this is still the case, but I'm gonna check this out here. I think, I'm just gonna double check. I think Pitchfork, yeah. Okay, Pitchfork, you know, the biggest music blog in the world, up until John Mayer's most recent release, The Search for Everything, had never reviewed a John Mayer album. And I thought that was hilarious. But that's the thing, is this, like, they don't review down the center singer-songwriter pop. That's just not something they do. And so, you know, they did the search. It's surprising actually that they did The Search for Everything, but maybe Catherine St. Asaph, who reviewed it, decided to, I don't know, do it herself or whatever. But, you know, so even the biggest stars in the world sometimes aren't getting blog coverage or whatever. And if you go to, so Submit Hub is one way to do it. And then we discussed this on the blog chat 2 months ago. But if you're interested in blog stuff, watch my chat from 2 months ago where I talk about blogs and I talk about Hype Machine, because we stepped all the way through on how to submit to blogs outside of Submit Hub also. That John, so did I understand Ari correctly that for distribution CD Baby is fine, but for admin, especially co-write, Song Trust is great. TuneCore is another option, but restrictive as far as sync. Right. Yes, correct. Oh, thanks, Bronwyn. Maybe she read your show review of John Mayer and thought, why the hell not? I did, yeah. I haven't reviewed too many concerts, but that was one of them because it moved me especially. And so I'm pretty proud of that review. So possible. I honestly, Spotify, I just found out, changed their terms of service after my my whole Streamify review about how they took down my album and about the whole thing. So Spotify has now come out loud and clear saying they don't support playlist plugging companies, even though they're all still out there and still existing. So it wouldn't be necessarily on the artist. It would be on the playlist plugging company, but they just kind of changed their terms of service, because that was one of the biggest things in my report. I was saying, like, Spotify, you have to give us guidelines here. You can't just rip our shit down and say you did it wrong when we don't know what is right. So that's the thing, is just like, you know, it's kind of the Wild West and they didn't really outline it. So now they have outlined it, and so things are changing some more. So, you know, it's interesting to kind of see how they're evolving this. Okay, cool. Let me get to another question here. Let's see. Great. Yep. Samuel Mack. So I'm not an artist per se, as in touring out, playing shows, gigs type artist. I'm a studio rat, co-writer, producer, and sync seeker. But that said, I have a number of side projects going under different names. And as I start to land sync here, love to also have a strategy to sharing the side project music with the world as well. Is there any different strategy for side project non-performing acts? And what would your approach be to release a new side project band with a new name that the world has never heard of? Early start traction for new. Okay, no problem. Great question, Sam. I know that we have a lot of non-artist musicians, songwriters in the class, and that's a great question. And the thing is that we're in such an interesting age right now that you don't need to be performing shows at all ever to see traction online. There are a lot of artists who are gaining massive traction online without ever performing live. So I would recommend the Pandora strategy that we talked about. I would recommend the Spotify strategy that we talked about a couple times ago. And so we have, if you missed the Spotify conversations, highly recommend go back and listen to that. Follow the Money and Music playlist. Check out the sheet that we have, because we've listed so many third-party playlists that you can contact directly. That's not against Spotify's terms of service. What they've said, just to clarify what they said they're not in favor of, are services that take compensation to influence playlist content. Now, I haven't seen how they're going to enforce that because there's no real way to see when your songs get included on a bunch of playlists. If a company asked the playlist editors to include your song, or if the playlist editors just found your song themselves, I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't think they're going to enforce it like that, but including it in their terms of service is a way for them to now say, if they catch you using a fake thing, you can't now say, Spotify didn't take a stance, because this is what their stance is. So anyway, digital strategies, so effective. You got a Spotify strategy, which we went through, and we have the playlist sheet in the files section. Check it out. You got a Pandora strategy. You can work whatever your strengths are, wherever you want to focus your efforts, whether it's going to be Instagram, Facebook, on social platforms, wherever you think that these potential fans exist, like we talked about earlier, you can focus your efforts there. And there are ways to build up your followings on those platforms. Like I reference Wolfpack a lot because I think what they did was brilliant, but they used Facebook. They weren't really touching Twitter, weren't really touching Instagram, weren't really touching, I don't even think they're on Snapchat. They weren't really touching anything but Facebook and a little bit of YouTube. And what they did is they just made these really quirky videos. This is before they were really performing or touring or anything. And they built this die-hard fan base just kind of within Facebook and Spotify. So Facebook was like the community where people could interact and talk with each other and share their goofy videos. And most of the videos weren't even of the band. They were just videos that they put out. I remember one video where they put Bernard Purdy, the drummer, doing a drum instructional video next to Corey Henry, the keyboard player. And Bernard Purdy's drum instructional was from 1992, and Corey Henry's organ solo was from 2009, and they put them next to each other, and they synced them in a way that it was like they were playing together, and it was fucking incredible. It was so cool. And that got so many shares, millions of plays and stuff like that. And Wolfpack's not even in it. They're not even playing a Wolfpack song. The band just put this out because they knew who they were targeting. They were targeting music nerds who would love this. So once you understand who your fan base is, you can know how to target them. So if Wolfpack unabashedly targets music nerds, musicians, jazz nuts, people who know Corey Henry and know Bernard Purdy. Most people in the world have never heard of those two names. But if you do know them, you respect them because they're masters on their instruments. So once you understand who you're targeting, then you can create digital content that targets that audience. Purdy Shuffle, totally. Yeah. Sam, my buddy Charles Jones did an awesome song with them. Is that your buddy, Sam? Yeah, Corey is so amazing. Yeah, Corey Henry. Right. Yeah, Charles, he did a couple songs. He sang Game Winner. He sang a new song on the new record. But anyway, yeah, so it's, you know, I would say you don't need, let me see, let me just go up here. Oh, Sam, oh yes, I was answering your question. So yes, you don't need to be performing live. You don't need to be doing those kinds of shows. You can, I would spend some time thinking about who your audience is, what they're into, where to find them, and creative ways that you can target them. That's not just the standard, let me put out a song on Spotify and YouTube and Apple and whatever. And use your strengths. So just because Wolfpack did that Bernard, you know, the Purdy Henry collaboration, you shouldn't do that. They did that. That was their thing. Like that was what they got off on. Like, what excites you? Like, what are you good at? Like, what is your thing? You know? And so the release strategies that do the best are the ones that utilize your own strengths, your own creative talents, and what sets you apart from everybody else. You know, you don't need to do the traditional thing of promo photos or that kind of stuff if that doesn't make sense. You know, I would definitely recommend checking out. There's a chapter in my book kind of about your story and how important it is to kind of come up with the story and how to write your bio and everything like that, because once you can really understand what your story is, then you can put everything through that lens, and it's who you are as that artist. So you have a lot of these side projects. That's awesome. Every side project needs its separate identity, and that's difficult for solo artists, because especially it's the most difficult for singer-songwriters when you're using your own name, because it's hard to figure out where you as a person end and where you as the artist begins, because it's so like this and we don't know what to separate. But by creating a separate entity that is this artist's name over here, even if it's just you, that's totally fine. You can filter everything through this lens. Just like Bon Iver is just Justin Vernon. But Justin Vernon is kind of a quirky motherfucker, but Bon Iver is not. So it's kind of like his very separate identities. Justin Vernon's Twitter was hilarious for a long time. Bon Iver's was not, because it was separate. Justin Vernon was not Bon Iver, even though Justin Vernon was Bon Iver. You know what I mean? It's like you filter everything through that identity of what that artist project is. So on the surface, it's easy to understand this if you think about it in terms of color palettes. This one project is purple. This project is red. This project is green. So I don't necessarily recommend this, but if you're thinking about it in colors, everything that goes that's released by the purple project needs to have purple coming through it. Needs to have purple on all the images and photos and the designs, and this is the purple project. Everything that's released on the green project needs to have green, and it's filtered through the green lens and everything. If you think about it like that, once you understand, it's like, oh, all right, we're not doing purple, green, and red. We're doing woodsy. This is my woodsy project. So everything is filtered through the woodsy lens. Cabin in the woods, deer, winter, trees, greenery, rivers, calm, nature, remote, these are the terms that you're looking to use, and these are what comes out through that lens. So it's like you put all these words down through this lens, and you're like, okay, does this fit the woodsy thing? So you're like, okay, you could, and then if you're there, you're like, okay, I got this woodsy project. Like, well, I love fast cars. Personally, I don't care for them. But if you love fast cars, you're like, I love fast cars. Should I take a photo of me driving this fast car for this woodsy project? No, that's really easy because driving fast cars does not fit through the woodsy lens. You know what I mean? So you kind of have these things.
Yeah, I think like what gets so tough for me is just being like, again, like this is my environment, so I'm going like daily, going crazy in here, and I got all these people I'm co-writing with, great co-writers, so I got a whole bunch of cool things going on, and then many of them will be like, this is different from the normal stuff that I'm doing, so I don't want to put this under my name. So we're sitting there, let's come up with a new name, side project name. I think I have like 4 or 5 really good like side projects going on, and most of it's aimed at sync. So I'm in the other class that Kathy's doing that's aimed at like licensing and sync. So the thing that gets tough is like, how much do I invest in like all these little, like I get the colors thing totally I was an art major in college. So that totally like is right up my alley. So I get kind of what is it? Can't think of that word right now. Putting things in boxes and having kind of the different things. But what I'm struggling with is I feel like at any moment or any day, one of these songs is going to pop like with a license and maybe be in some big commercial that's everywhere. And that's when I really want to catch all of it, because I'm doing all of this work. Like for 20 years, I recorded, mixed, produced singer-songwriters. They own the music. They walked away with the stuff. So that was on their end of it. And I didn't really worry about those things. And I got my money from doing the producing in. Now, all these projects, I'm not asking a lot of money from anyone because it's like, this is like sync music. And I kind of feel like on all these side projects, I'm like one half of the band. You know what I mean? Artists. We're not touring. We're not doing any of that stuff. So I guess the main thing is just trying to catch, like you've been talking about the whole thing here, trying to catch the Spotify and Pandora and all that stuff, so that all of a sudden if like Starbucks or Coca-Cola or someone grabs one of these songs, like I want my ducks in a row. Like I want people to be able to, Shazam it and go right and, so it builds momentum for like all these.
It's great. I feel you. I totally understand. So I would lay the foundation for these 4 projects. And you can just do baseline stuff right now. Like you don't need to be, doing a constant, posting on Facebook or Instagram for these projects, but lay the foundation. So set the palette. What's the palette for these things? Get some images. Whatever the images are, they can be photos. They don't have to be photos. They can be drawings, paintings, landscapes, horizons, whatever. Images that make sense for these projects, and just secure the names with all the socials and the website, and you can make it really obscure, and you just have them. You could just have them. So you have project A here, and you have an Instagram, you have a Facebook page, you have a website, but it's just a few of these images, and maybe the song is in a video of the song streaming with colors going or whatever, and that's it. Now, if it pops, everybody can rush to that page and be like, oh, this is cool, we haven't decided. And then you can be like, I'm going to focus on this page for a little while, and I'm going to focus on this project for a little while. And these are just dormant, sitting here for when something happens. And if like you're focusing on sync, absolutely, you want a landing page for people to come to once you get that big sync. And so you just, you lay the foundation for all these. You come up with what the palette is, for each of these things, what you're going to filter everything through that lens for each one. So so you have an aesthetic for each project that makes sense. And then if something, if you get a big sync for one of these projects, that's when you can go for it with that. And even like you can utilize the Pandora strategy and the Spotify strategy similarly without developing on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or email or website or whatever. You can literally, the Pandora thing, their rarely, they're not really checking out your socials and everything like that. Spotify playlisters, some of them are, most of them aren't. Most of them have said they don't actually even care if you have a ton of followers because they're just like, you know, into the music and like discovering new stuff. So you can definitely do it that way. Okay, so is that cool? Make sense? Great. Yeah. All right, let's go through some more here. Robin said, yeah, distribution. Julie, you know, multiple projects on the same website, separate pages are important to have full site. You know, you don't need to worry so much about like a full website. You can use Bandzoogle or Squarespace or something to just get something really simple up, like a one-page deal. Like, honestly, for this new project, it could literally just be the main image with contact info on the bottom and maybe a streaming player playing through the songs or the album or just the one song or the album or whatever you have for it. And you can just make it look really nice, and it's just one page. And it can be, that's it. That's all you need. And yes, I would have a separate page. Unless this is like your producer website. And if you're trying to sell yourself as a producer and you're like, this is my producer website, then yeah, you can have the myname.com because I'm a producer, and then you have tabs that are like this project, this project, this project, this project, and you click on that, and then it pulls up, you know, that projects and that stuff because you're the producer and this is your producer page. But if you're, you know, launching these artist names, these bands or whatever you want to call them, I would create a separate website for each and just have it live there. It's dormant. It doesn't need, you know, and people can find it. They have contact information. They have the music there. You can, you know, send them ways to get it. You know, you can have the like Spotify and iTunes and Apple Music link if you want, that kind of stuff. Okay. Do you have a preference on which platform to use? Is Bandzoogle better? Great question. I'm actually working on a website comparison article right now. Bandzoogle versus Squarespace versus WordPress versus Wix versus Weebly versus HostBaby versus Reverb Nation. So I think that's it. There may be one or two more. But I can recommend Bandzoogle and Squarespace. I've used both of them. I think they're both awesome. You can wait for the comparison article to get the nuances and specifics of what's different on each platform. But I'm very confident in recommending Bandzoogle and Squarespace because I've used both of them, and I think they're both great. Okay. It was hard to choose using Bandzoogle. Yeah, cool. Bandzoogle will be fine. Yeah, that'll be great. They have actually a really good e-commerce store built in, and they don't take a commission. I love that. And because it's made for musicians, they have a lot more musician tools than some of the other ones do. So I dig it. You know, but Bandzoogle and Squarespace are very similar. Squarespace has, I would say, better designs. I prefer Squarespace visually over all the other ones. Visually, it looks the best. That doesn't mean Bandzoogle sites look bad, but Squarespace sites tend to look better. I use Bandzoogle for my arihurstan.com. So, you know, but I've tried all of the other ones, and yeah, it's really based on what your needs are, and what you're going for, and what's kind of your priority level is. So, okay, cool. On my own WordPress site, yeah, I don't recommend WordPress because it's challenging. WordPress is best for developers who are great at code, or if you want something super complicated, designed and developed, that's what WordPress is good for, because WordPress, the back end is very good. And you can design, basically you can, it's fully customizable. So WordPress is great for that, but you have to work with a developer or get a really good theme, and it's a headache. I don't recommend any musician use WordPress. Let's just say that. Okay. Great. Okay. So, Julie, I have songs released under my name, Ralph. I release new songs using a pseudonym or project name. How do I connect those new songs with my accounts with my distributors, Songtrust, ASCAP, and the Copyright Office, any other prototypes. Okay, we kind of covered this already, Julie, but just to reiterate, so doesn't matter how many projects you have, you register your songs under your legal name with the Copyright Office and Songtrust and ASCAP. That's your legal name, so it could be any artist that releases it. Now with distributors, there are some distributors who allow you to do a different artist name for every release, and some restrict you to just doing the same artist name. So you'll have to look into that, whichever distributor you use, if you can do it with different artist names. Okay. I think that was all the questions from the email. Do anyone have any final questions that I didn't cover today? The homework for everybody is to, if you have music released, get it on Pandora and run a feature campaign and run an Ampcast campaign. If you need a refresher on what to do and you need the step-by-step, I covered that in last month's chat. So go watch that, and I talk a lot about Pandora on that one. And I also, in the files section, on the Facebook group, I put the entire Pandora slideshow there that they pitched to me, so you can read through it and kind of understand what they're doing a little bit better. And there's some other files there that you definitely want to check out as well. And Hope asked me, what merch sells best at live shows in your experience? That's a great question. It's totally dependent on who your fans are. So you have to kind of understand what your target audience is. I mean, CDs still sell well for me. Vinyl is selling well for me. At live shows, even though I don't have a CD player, and a lot of people don't have CD players, it's still like a souvenir that people like buying at the live shows. Actually, I sold out of vinyl records at my last show, more so than CDs. So vinyl is now actually becoming incredibly popular, but incredibly expensive. So don't spend all your money creating vinyl unless you know you're going on a gigantic tour where people are going to be buying a lot of vinyl. T-shirts are clear, but it all depends on your fan bases. It's like you got a lot of beer drinkers, koozies, trucker hats, whatever. If you don't, then buttons or the other kind of stuff. Yeah, T-shirts are good. John, you had a question? Let me unmute you. Go for it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just a couple of really quick questions. You mentioned about getting your stuff on Pandora. And
yes.
After listening to what you said about the power of Spotify and get your stuff on there, I finally digitally distributed through them with CD Baby and then signed up for Pandora as well. But I found out that the percentage of acceptance for Pandora is relatively small, so there's no guarantee that you'll get your music on there. And there's some lag time. So it's a gamble. But we'll see.
Yes, absolutely. That's thank you for bringing that up. That is an important point. Pandora has a they are discerning about the music that they accept. It is a quality threshold. It is not has nothing to do with genre. So they have musicians, they employ musicians who listen to the music. If it's not up to their standards, professional standards, they may reject it. So if you get rejected from Pandora, it means your level of production may not be up to professional standards, and you need to go back to the drawing board. You need to increase, maybe work with a better producer, or if you're doing your own production, you need to, just hone your craft a little bit more, work with a better mixing engineer, or learn how to mix, stronger mixing techniques yourself. So if you get rejected from Pandora, unlike a blog, getting rejected from blogs, no problem. I would not look too deeply into that, because blogs are all about taste. And maybe that blog was having a bad day. Maybe they just don't like your kind of music, whatever. They rip a lot of blogs rip some of my favorite albums to shreds. That doesn't mean they're bad albums. It means that the blogger just doesn't like, that music, that kind of music or that taste or whatever. Pandora is much less about if they like you or not, and it's a quality threshold. So they're employing, as objective as they can be, music listeners, but professional musicians to listen to your stuff. And if you get rejected from Pandora, that's a really helpful indicator that your music just is not up to the professional standards that they require. And so it's actually, it's a really good indicator that, it's probably not going to be ready for sync either. And you got to go back to the drawing board. That's the thing that, is actually the most important statement to make, and the most important thing that I could possibly say. And I don't think we talk about this enough, because it's not fun to talk about, but you have to have, there's no sense in pursuing the business. We're all about talking about business techniques and tactics and strategies and everything like that. None of that matters if your music is not great. If your music is not up to professional standards, none of this business matters. That's number one. All the stuff that we're discussing is with the understanding that your music is great. So, that's the relatively easy part for musicians is, like Sam was saying, he's a studio rat. It's just hacking away in the studio and just really like getting stuff to be as good as we possibly can get in. A lot of musicians are perfectionists, and we want it to be perfect. We want it to be so good and to be on par with our favorite albums and our favorite recordings. So I don't hit that point too often because that's just inherent to what we do. But that being said, I've seen this a lot where musicians fall in love with their own music and they think it's great when it's not there yet. And every artist can grow. Every artist goes through growth. I know I thought I was great when I was 19 and released my first album. I listened back on that album. It's not great. Pandora might probably reject it. It's not very, but like, I thought it was amazing. And if anyone told me it wasn't, I'd call them a liar. It's like, but because it's impossible to be objective about your own music. That's why I highly recommend market research platforms, objective market research platforms like AudioKite or Crowd Review, because they don't have ulterior motives. They're literally there to tell you if they think your song is good or not. Not based on if they think it's right for their blog or whatever. And Pandora, similarly, they employ musicians and professional music listeners to say it's going to meet your threshold quality. So the fact of the matter is, most music out there is not up to professional standards. So, John, when you're saying Pandora's acceptance rate is quite low, as it should be, because they're trying to keep the quality up to professional standards on Pandora Radio. And most music that's released, because there is no restrictions now to release music anymore. Anybody can release through CD Baby or any of the others. Whether it's a recording of me crinkling newspaper, or whether I spend $50,000 in a studio with the best musicians on the planet in the most expensive songwriters. Anything can be released. So does the crinkled piece of newspaper for 7 minutes deserve to be on Pandora? I don't know, maybe on John Cage's station, but probably not. So that's the thing. It's like, if you get rejected by Pandora, it's a really good indication that back to the drawing board. Everyone can get better. Everyone can challenge themselves to get stronger. Don't take it personally. Don't give up music if it's who you are and part of your soul, but use it as constructive criticism. This just is not up to professional standards, and it needs to be. Okay. Robin, did you have a question? Oh yeah, go for it.
Real quick one. Yeah. So recently, definitely was hitting Submit Hub pretty hard, but
Yeah.
as well went through Hype Machine to
Oh
find
yeah.
other places like
Yep.
we were talking about a little while ago.
Yeah.
So was approaching them on email, sending pretty good emails for sure, I think. But then it occurred to me after sending a bunch, they were coming from the band account. So in their inbox, it would say from Foil of the Stars, title, whatever.
Yep.
And it occurred to me after, is it maybe a better strategy to send from a person? Like, do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I definitely think it's a better strategy to send from a person. I don't think it's that going to be that drastically different, but I think it is better to send from a person because it's more personable.
Yeah.
Because you can then, when you open with a compliment and you say, "Hi, Carolyn, really loved your piece on, on Chris Stapleton's new song, new album. I really, loved how you did this, this, and this. Anyway, I am, I'm writing you on behalf of Foil of the Stars.
Foil of the Stars, yeah.
Foil of the Stars, new single. You can check it out here. The press release it's linked here, and here, it's this, and this, and this. The song is this, your paragraph song pitch. Would love to be considered for a review. It comes out on this date. Thank you. It's personable, and thank you, Robin. Signed Robin, not Foil of the Stars, because it's a person, because they want to be interacting with people. So I definitely recommend emailing from a person to a person, and then being as personable as you possibly can, while giving them the information they need. Link to that press release, link to, include a few links, a link to the song on SoundCloud or something, or Box, and then, link to your bio if you want also, or link to your the promo photo for it. Don't attach anything, but yeah. Did you get it? How was the Hype Machine outreach?
It's been okay. Got a few things back. It might work out. But yeah, I mean, the emails we've been sending have been solid, from me, definitely, personal. I was more thinking about just the from, like in your email inbox. It says from a band or from, you know what I mean? Because it could,
totally.
If you see a band, you might be thinking, okay, well, maybe they don't have a team, or they don't have, like, you might. So
yeah, I mean, honestly,
or lower level than maybe.
Yeah, totally. Honestly, I don't think it's. I don't think the ratio is going to be that much different whether you're sending from a band account or from a personal account. If the email is solid, what will change your feedback ratio is the subject line. I would say, regardless of the from line, it's the subject line which is the most important thing. Now, I was just listening to God, what is this guy's name? I don't know, some blogger. He writes for EDM.com, and he writes for Noise Porn, and he writes for a few others. I was listening on this podcast, the Making It with Chris G podcast, and he was saying, he's like, I get 800 emails a day. There's no way I can open all of them. I look at the subject line, or first I look at the from. If I know the person, they get an open. If I don't know them, I don't know most of these emails I'm getting. I look at the subject line. If the subject line intrigues me, he's like, the shorter, the better. Don't write your whole novel. Don't write your whole pitch in the subject line, but open the subject line. So, and he's like, if a subject line is an artist that I know, I open it. Because it's like, oh, and I'm getting the new Deadmau5. For sure, I'm going to open that. Wow, I get to write about the new Deadmau5. Well, maybe, so it may be worth thinking, like, testing your subject lines out. And maybe trying like 3 different subject lines and seeing how they perform, and then do it with a sample audience. And then the ones that perform better, what you should use, everybody should use here. Everybody do this. If you don't have this now, download it right now. HubSpot. It's free. It's an email tracking service. HubSpot.com, I believe. I got to double check on that. It used to be called Sidekick. HubSpot.com. Because even if you don't, this is a really good way to test it out. HubSpot, yes.com. Okay. Even if you don't get a response, you'll see open rates. So then what you can do is you can send out these emails, these personal emails. Obviously, you're not doing it on MailChimp because you got to personalize every one. Hi, Carolyn, loved your Chris Stapleton review. Hi, Tommy, loved your whatever, But you can see on HubSpot who opened your email, who didn't open it, and what they clicked. So this is really helpful because now you can run 3 subject lines and test them out. So maybe one of your subject lines is, Robin, give me a band that you sound like, a big band.
I'd like to think Radiohead, but
great.
It's worth a shot. Sure.
Great. Put Radiohead in the subject. So you put Radiohead in the subject. And you open with saying, hey, Carolyn, loved your review of Radiohead's new, whatever, album or the concert review that you did, or it could even be something else. I loved your review on such and such and such. And then you say, a lot of people have been telling us that we sound like Radiohead. I'm flattered because they're huge influences of mine, but I'd appreciate blah, blah, blah. You work in the Radiohead thing somewhere in there. Or you could even say, radio, blah, whatever. But it gets them to open it. Once they open your email and you start by showering them with praise, they're going to love you and they're going to keep reading. And that's your whole thing. And then they're probably going to click through. I'm telling you, I get 1 million emails a day. And people who open with, hey, Ari, love your book, it's really helpful, or whatever, I keep reading. If they say, and I get 1 million emails also a day that just say, hello, we're going on a 50-date tour. Will you write about it? And it's like, no, I delete it. It's blacklisted. Do some work here. If you're looking for something from somebody, do something for them. Just give them a compliment or something, and I get hit with press releases from publicists all the time. And it's something to be very careful about when you're hiring publicists, that some of them are just going to blanket send out press releases to all their contacts, and they're never going to get opened. I get press releases every day from publicists that don't say hi, Ari. They don't say anything except artist name and the subject line, going on tour, and oftentimes not, I've never heard of this artist. And then it basically has just the press release in the body, which is fine to have a press release in the body, but you got to give something. You got to give a personal message of some kind. Why are you sending this to me? That's just laziness on the publicist's part. And I'm like, any artist that I do recognize, I'm forwarding their press release and saying, fire this publicist. They're not doing you justice right now. So think about that. Cool?
Cool.
Right on. Mary, what's up?
Hi. Quick question and then a quick question comment. The first one, just because we were talking about Pandora. I remember Googling this once. Is it like a 5% acceptance rate? That's the number. That seems so low.
Could be, but
okay.
I don't know what the acceptance rate is, but it doesn't matter because it's not like they have to reach their acceptance rate ratio. It's really just a quality threshold. So if it's 5%, that means 95% of the music that is getting submitted to Pandora is not of professional quality standards.
Okay.
And it's below their standards. So I wouldn't worry about what the ratio is, because if it's of quality to Pandora's standards, it'll get accepted. And if it's not quite up to that quality level, it's not going to get accepted. And I know artists who've gotten one album accepted and one album rejected. So it's
No, I was just curious on the statistic because when I did have stuff accepted, I thought to, put it in newsletters and boast a little, but but who cares?
Yeah.
That's a small question. And sorry, I don't know, my camera's not working.
Okay.
I just wanted to say the comment you made about the palette and the colors, this was very, very rich and useful to me. And then the whole time I was listening, I was thinking, this dovetails to something that you talked about months and months ago, and probably one of the very first ones. I think it was Fred from Germany, who always has the same issue, or did that of genre. We're kind of fixated on what our genre is. And at the time, if I recall, I think you said, wait a few months to release things that are in a different genre if you're doing, and so I just kind of want to reconcile that with this whole palette thing, because I could see, writing something to people. I have multiple projects going on, and take a look at what's in this paint pot, and
Yep.
What do you think? The damn genre question, Till.
Totally. Yeah, if you have multiple projects and you're targeting different audiences, you can release them simultaneously, because audience A isn't going to even know about project B, if you know what I mean. So I wouldn't recommend sending your email list every project you're doing on one day. That's going to be overwhelming. But if you're doing a Spotify strategy and a Pandora strategy and a Facebook strategy or a whatever strategy, Submit Hub strategy, Hype Machine, you can do these simultaneously with project A, B, C, and D on the same day. They could even be released, because most people aren't going to know that Mary is behind project A, B, C, and D. They're just going to know that project A, B, C, and D are drastically different, and they were all happen to be released on today.
Thank you.
Totally. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, hopefully this was helpful. Check out last chat on Pandora if you missed it, if that's something that's interested to you. Check out the other chat on Submit Hub and Hype Machine if you're looking at more press coverage. Keep staying active in the Facebook group. Sonnet is on maternity leave. She just had her baby last week. It is healthy. So she will be on maternity leave for, I'm not sure, maybe a couple months or something. But Victoria has been amazing, and she's taking over. And so she'll be dipping into the Facebook group. She works with Catch the Moon also. And so she's very knowledgeable. She's been working alongside, Kathy and Sonnet. And so she's all set. She should be able to answer most of your questions. I'll be dipping in there as frequently as I can. Until next time, I will, John. Hey, John, I did answer your second question on what is a true co-write. You can go back and check it out earlier. Okay, I will see you guys next time. Peace.